this funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and breathe and connect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress and bring me looking like when blessings drop in. And so I got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Divided We Stand on YouTube and on Facebook. If you're unfamiliar with this page, please consider joining us on Facebook. We have a very, very nice private page. We ask that you become a member. It's not very difficult. We'll accept you as long as you're not a Trumper causing trouble. If you are familiar with YouTube, we ask that you subscribe to our channel. It is appropriate enough called Divided We Stand. You may find a few other ones out there with the same name, but that can happen. But just look for the one with not too many subscribers, and that should be us. Yeah. I kind of feel like Dr. Smith tonight, you know, oh, the pain and all that kind of thing. Because both David and I were very, very optimistic, which is a rarity that both of us could be optimistic. But we were last week. I'm not so sure it's this week. And that's why we've entitled this show tonight, show number 304. Wow, it's getting up there, isn't it? It's entitled Murder Incorporated. And I'm going to have my co-host and good friend join me in a few seconds to explain Murder Incorporated and what we're going to be speaking about tonight. I guess it's not very difficult for you to figure out. So, without any further ado, let's go to my buddy in Arlington, Virginia. Journalist, writer, educator, former president. Who knows what he's doing? But he's there. Dave, how are you?
Well, not as optimistic as you said as last week. In fact, if there ever was a time for pessimism, it's here, and it's centered in D.C. Of course, obviously, it's centered in D.C. because Donald Trump, when he's not at Mar-a-Lago or in one of his other golf places, is here. But a tragedy that many of us hoped would not happen, but it did kind of have the air of inevitability around it. A National Guards, two National Guard men were shot. One died in a hail of gunfire at a metro stop near the White House. Now, there's a lot of things we know about the shooting, but there's more that we don't know about. So we want to talk a little bit about that tonight. Normally, our audience who's with us all the time know that we really usually set up three different bad things Trump has done over the week and talk about it. But I think the title that you came up with, Murder Incorporated, really does also deal with the three topics that I think we should address tonight. The murder of the National Guards woman, of course. The murder prompted by and called for by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and the murders that are going to come, Brian.
And the murder of democracy, we could probably add that.
Well, you could, but that, that's not dead yet. That's on life support, but that's not dead. But there will be inevitably, again, there's that word, I used it earlier, inevitably, as long as Donald Trump is in the White House in command, there will be more murders. Where they will occur, we don't know. Who will be the victims, we don't know. But I guarantee you, as long as he is there, we will continue to see murders directly or indirectly attributed to Trump and his regime. But I'm going to pull rank tonight, even though I have no rank, even though you're the founder of this group, if you will. And I want to talk a little bit on a personal level about what it's like to live in Washington, D.C. after what happened last Wednesday. So we don't have to go into the great details. Most people know it. But basically, a person whose name we do know, that is something we know, drove from Washington State or flew from Washington State or took a train from Washington State, somehow got to the middle of Washington, D.C., I assume walking down the street, and at the metro station known as Farragut West, engaged in a gun battle, the result being the death of the National Guard's woman, the severely critical shooting of a National Guardsman, and the also shooting, but not apparently critical, of the suspect. Now, that we know. After that, it's all questions already, and we knew two things were going to happen. One is we knew that Trump would use that for political gain, so we need to talk about that.
Absolutely.
I would say simply right now, definitely the top 10 most heinous people alive today, if you put power with hard actions. Is he Vladimir Putin? He's up there. Okay, we know that. And secondly,
and there are similarities between.
Oh yeah, well, the thing is, what's interesting about that, Brian, is the more I research it, the more I look at it. Fascism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, call it what you will, they follow a similar playbook. They really do. I mean, the names may be different, the times may be different, the countries may be different, and we are in the midst of America is now a fading democracy. I don't know that it's actually, it's not a complete fascist state, but is certainly headed there.
Right. We wouldn't be on tonight
So-
if it were a complete fascist state. It would be
No,
our last
no.
broadcast.
Yeah. Now, so let's start with you, Brian. Okay, so you've been following this, and then I'll come back with the DC angle. But you've been following this. You're living a 3.5 hour drive from here.
Right.
So I mean, you're close to DC, New Jersey, not too far. What did you think when you first heard about it, and then kind of take your thought pattern up?
Okay,
to,
I was in the local
the moment
pizzeria. You may be familiar. That was a Joe's Pizza, which is near
Okay.
our local grocery
I do know
store.
that.
But I think for those of you who aren't from Bridgeton, most of you aren't from Bridgeton, just imagine this small place where you get pizza. I'm standing ready to pay for my eggplant parmesan because you know that I'm a vegetarian. But I look at the television set, and all of a sudden I see you can't see most of the set, but some of the set, and it says two people shot, National Guard. And I said, oh God, what's going on here? Because one of these things where the news just comes out, you can't even hear the TV, you just see something. And I say, well, this could be pretty big because it's in Washington, D.C. I have a good friend, who lives there. And as soon as it happens, your brain starts running. Who did it? When did it happen? What? And that's part of the problem too, because there's all this speculation, which I get so tired of now because there's just so much of it. It's almost as if they want us to speculate. But it was not shocking. But it's just one of the things like, oh no, what is he going to... I mean, I didn't even know it had anything to do with Trump. But the first thing I thought is, this guy's going to use this. No matter what it is, whoever did this, it's going to be political. And of course, I mean, look, that's not hard to guess. I don't think I'm too much different than anybody else who was in my position. If you were, at the counter and you look around, you see that, you just say, oh shit, which is what we've been saying for the last, 10 years now. And I don't want to speculate on it, Dave, to be honest with you. But, and at the time, it didn't hit me. But now all these things keep going on, whether it's the Epstein, whether it's the assassination attempt on Trump. I don't want to say I'm tired of it. It's like getting hit over and over and over again. You're a boxer and you're trying to stay up. And I'm tired. That's all I can tell you.
Well, I think you speak for a lot of people. It is exhausting. Okay. And again, I'm assuming, if I'm part of the DC contingent, that it's even more affecting us here in DC. So I'll give you kind of my take, which goes all the way back to when Donald Trump announced that National Guard was going to come to Washington, DC. I saw that, yeah. I know. Well, T-Bone, I also thought that something bad would happen, but I really did think it would happen in Washington, D.C. simply because Trump was here. So I will say, now I'm not a resident of D.C. I live 3 metro stops from the border. And as I always like to say, I live 4.6 miles from Donald Trump's White House. Now, the moment he said the troops were coming in, I knew, almost everyone in the Washington, D.C. area knew that was not necessary. That was a political stance.
Absolutely.
The National Guard is not needed, was never needed, should not be here in Washington, D.C. Now, does Washington, D.C. have crimes? Absolutely. And by the way, don't buy any of the statistics Trump is putting out. There's still been murders since he's been running the show. All right? So, what a number of us did think, and unfortunately it happened, was that's setting somebody up for something bad. Very simplistically, you do not put guns on the street, no matter who has them, and not expect something to happen. The good guys can have them, the bad guys can have them, the evil monsters can have them, gangs can have them, teachers can have them in a classroom, husband and wife can have them. Bad things can happen when guns. And the more guns you have, the more chance you have of bad things happening. Now, what do we know about this particular incident is, as I said before, we know where it took place, Farragut West. Now, it is a metro station. It is below ground. You see nothing. The only thing you see, it's across from, oddly enough, Farragut Square. And you go down, you wouldn't see anything. So one question I have, and say, oh, this every single thing about this, Brian, is important because A, we know the government is going to lie. B, we know that people are going to make up stories. So finding the truth is kind of essential to this. It doesn't do anything. It is a tragedy. Nothing is going to bring that National Guardswoman back. But what might help avoid another similar instance is knowing what happened in this case. That's why you try to study it. So, there's only two possibilities. The murderer, and we can call him that, was either walking the street or was coming up from the metro. Now, I guess there is video. I haven't seen it yet. I guess there is video.
CCTV video
of the incident. But what little bit I did see looked like, it would you still couldn't tell because obviously the shooting did not occur in the metro station.
Right.
So it did occur up, but we don't know that. So we do know that according to eyewitnesses, in the initial shooting, they heard about 15 to 18 shots. So that's a gun battle on the streets of DC. Who fired when? I'm not even real sure. I've heard that both victims of the guard were shot in the head. If that's the case, have to be somewhat close. Everybody, just think about it. You're walking down a street. We've all been in a big city, right? People coming at you, people behind you. It's just the way it is. So first of all, the question is, did this murderer walk right up, point blank, boom?
Let me ask you this, Dave. I'm going to interject here.
Sure, and interrupt me at any time.
But, you're in Washington, D.C. You've probably seen, I know you've seen the National Guard. And this is just probably a stupid question, but they do wear protective armor on their chest, correct? So
sometimes, most of the times they do. It depends. Now, remember, it depends on a couple things. One would be their assignment for the day. I'm not real sure. One of the things they had them doing was picking up trash.
Right.
They're finding make-do work for them. But there'd be a good chance that they would have some type of body armor, around their chest area, which of course, maybe this guy knew, maybe he didn't. So my first question, like I say, is what transpired there? What exactly transpired there? Because to me, that does make a little bit of a difference. Was he headed toward the White House? Okay. And of course, Trump is going to indicate that he was. Well, last I knew, a revolver is not going to lead you inside the White House. Not going to work. Okay. So the next question I have after what exactly was he doing? Why did he choose that particular weapon? Okay. Now I understand that carrying some kind of AK-47 would be hard in the city. So, maybe it was just a question if he could disguise that or keep that weapon covered. I don't know. But then you have to take a step back. What the hell possessed him to go or to come from Washington State across the country and end up at Farragut West Metro Station?
And of course, he is alive, but now can we trust him any more than Ghislaine Maxwell when the DOJ?
Well, would you? No, look, if I were him, I'd lie like hell. Okay, why would I tell the truth? Unless they offered some kind of deal where you won't get the death penalty if you tell us exactly what happened. But Trump wants the death penalty. Okay, it's already been. In fact, the judge who will hear the case has already said it will be tried as murder. So. Why did he come there? Why to that place? Now, the next question is, was he wounded during the shootout, or did they say authorities, National Guard and then authorities, so probably DC PD, arrived quickly on the scene and were able to, they never say shoot and subdue. All the words have just been to subdue.
I'm sure Trump didn't want that. He probably wanted him to be shot.
Oh, absolutely. Of course. Absolutely.
That's, again, I'm violating my own rule of speculating, but I should, because I'm tired of speculating.
I don't think that's speculation. Right. I think Trump
common sense
because Trump wants the worst case scenario, and that would be the worst
goes
case
on with it,
scenario.
right.
Right. So we need to know these things. Now, again, I'm sure that people
And
say, what
can we
difference does
know
it make?
these things?
Well, that's the question. Number one, are they knowable? I mean, how many years? And we're still talking about the Kennedy assassination.
Right.
You know, is this?
That was the
and
murder
again,
of a president, and we still don't know for sure. So this one,
right? Yeah,
a
Now-
lot less.
right. But we also know that you cannot believe a single word, not a single word that comes from anybody in the White House or in the Trump regime. Now, here's where you have to hope. Congress has some ability, maybe some congressmen can find out, right? And reveal, just as Marjorie Taylor Greene has claimed that she will reveal the names of the Epstein victims.
And she hasn't
remember-
yet.
No, she hasn't yet.
Which tells you a lot
And
right
again,
there.
well, I don't know.
Sounds like McCarthy.
Again.
I've got 300 names right here.
Well,
She might
I do
the
know
names.
this for no, I do know this for a fact. She has been in touch with the victims. I was there. I mean, I was standing right there. So maybe she's holding the victim. I mean, I just said that. Just the idea of, again, the Trump unity doesn't exist the way it did a month ago. MAGA is in disarray. There's things. So there may be a possibility of it getting out. Now, I said immediately that Trump would jump on this, and notice he's now, the blame started. Biden let him in. Trump let him in. It really doesn't matter who let him in. That's immaterial. Okay. That's just political bullshit on both parts. What apparently was, he helped or was involved with CIA troop leadership in Afghanistan, as were thousands and thousands of Afghanis. Once the Taliban took it over back there, they were going to be killed, and America did the right thing and brought them in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, there seems to be no dispute that he was part of that type of operation. So I'm assuming people have looked at documents and been able to see his name there. Now, though, we've got that another little bit of a turn. You've got, well, if he's involved with the CIA, could there be CIA or government involvement in this? In other words, could it been a setup to allow Trump and his regime to increase the street presence? What Donald Trump wants.
But he is doing what, tonight or tomorrow? He's sending another 500?
He's doing. They're on their way. He announced that before.
Do you know from where they're coming?
Not at this point. Okay. I know where I know where the two came from. They came from West Virginia, and the largest percentage of people that I've talked to, National Guardsmen, have been from West Virginia. They came in.
I wonder if
Ohio
they'd be from West Virginia. I doubt that.
No, I don't. So, but the point is, so you say, why? Donald Trump wants chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump wants chaos so that he can put put military in the streets, and he's putting military in the streets because they're practicing for the 2028 midterms. I mean, the 2026 midterms. And so this gives him justification. Now, I don't know about you, Brian, and I'd love to see what anybody else says out there. I've been a little bit surprised about the lack of reaction from MAGA about string them up, string them up, string them up. Have you seen? I haven't seen much of that.
I haven't yet.
So what does that mean?
There wasn't a 9/11 response, if that's what you're saying at all.
Well, no, and it wouldn't be. It's not the same type of thing.
Now,
remember,
had that happened to somebody higher up, somebody like Trump, obviously that might have been a different story. It's hard to tell. Because Trump doesn't seem to care very much about the person who was killed based on what the comments he made.
Oh, no.
I don't know that any MAGA person really cares.
I would say there's no bottom to what Trump will do, but this is going to be in contention. When he came out, and he said and announced that they were from West Virginia, and he said basically, by the way, West Virginia loves me. I won the state.
Yeah, like, by the way, now my building is the highest building in Manhattan. It's the same story, and there's never a change from this.
No, well, because he's never been human. He has no human characteristics.
And he keeps getting away with it.
And That is true. I can't argue that, nor do I choose to. But when the reckoning comes, if it comes, it's going to be pretty big, Brian. It's going to be big. I mean, this is not little bullshit. People are going to come after him for everything they wished he'd gotten caught before. Do you know what I mean? This is not going to be a one and done. So we have that. Now, back to DC. It was a holiday. I have not been into DC, not for any other reason than I'm going in tomorrow. And the reason I'm going in tomorrow is one of the groups that I hang with, I guess, and report on, is sponsoring a rally outside of Heritage, and I like to go to that and holler and hoop and whatever for that. Now, it'll be interesting to see. The group that I really want to talk to tomorrow are the veterans who are camped out at Union Station 24/7. There's a presence there 24/7. Now, one of the things that I've been with them when they've done this, they often go out on sorties, they call, which is like the mission, and they actually walk up and talk to the National Guard. Explain to them, the idea of if you have, that they're veterans, they know what they're going through, and they have the right to refuse an order which is unconstitutional. Now, we know for another fact that Donald Trump and Peter Hegseth have both issued orders that are completely unconstitutional. Okay.
Although Trump is denying that Hegseth made those orders or gave those orders. I'm not saying. Look, we know that Trump says lie.
I understand. No, I know. I'm just saying, whatever Trump said is meaningless. It doesn't matter. We know that he did it. I mean, he'll say right there, "I'm wearing a green suit," and he's on TV wearing a blue suit. So right. I mean, we know the type of person he is. And Hegseth, being a recovering alcoholic addict myself, usually I would have some sympathy for him, but I have none. Just as I have none for Trump. So. We know that the politics is going to continue. Now, back to these soldiers going out. I'll be interested to see tomorrow when I sit down and talk to them what their feelings are, in terms of, I know they've been warning the guardsmen. Now, here's the difference. The veterans, I would guess and say the average age of the veterans at the encampment in their 40s.
That's a good point. I like that point.
Yeah, the flag part. Absolutely, of course.
Especially if he's like.
There's a difference, though. I almost smile because he's so fucking evil. But pulling the flags down for Charlie Kirk was a political advantage for Trump. Mm-hmm. Pulling them down for the National Guard is a disadvantage. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that, or he would have done it already. He wants this. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's just looking at the political ramifications. Now, on a personal level, this bothered me a lot. And one of the things I try to do in my career, both as a journalist and as a teacher, is divorce emotion as much as you can from what you're doing. It clouds your judgment, it clouds your system. But this is bad because the majority of young people that I spoke to who were National Guards people were from West Virginia. Now, I did not know these two. I had not spoken to these two, but I've spoken to dozens and dozens of National Guard. It's
and a deeply red state, you should add.
I've learned from the veterans what to do, and I basically do something like this. I go up to them and said, "Listen, I want to talk to you for a minute. We may be completely political opposites, or we may be completely political attuned, but let's forget that for a moment. I want you to know 3 things. I want you to know that you're not the enemy. The National Guard is not the enemy. They didn't come here. They haven't fired on a single fucking civilian that didn't deserve to be fired on. They are not ICE. ICE is evil. The National Guard is a group of young men and women, just like your children, like your grandchildren, like your brothers, like your sisters, maybe even in some cases your mothers or fathers, who were ordered to come here. Most of them are young. It's pretty tough to refuse an order. So far, none of those orders have violated anything that really, I guess what I'm trying to say is nothing has shown me here in DC that there's any problem stemming from the National Guard. So who gets the blame? Donald Trump. If Donald Trump had not called them here, they would not be here. And one would not be hanging on to life and one would not be dead. That's just simple. Now, again, MAGA starts screaming, Well, what about the shooter? The shooter deserves anything that happens to him. Okay, but because MAGA is one trick pony, if you blame Trump, you're making other people blameless. No, two, 1,000, 1,000,000 people can be guilty of the same thing, but in their world, it doesn't. So I would like to say tonight, as I do oftentimes, but I haven't done it for a while, if you are MAGA, I don't care about you. I don't care what happens to you. I do not consider you an American. And the best thing you could do is just go away forever. Also, with Divided We Stand, I stand firmly. I do not want them in my country. I would prefer to have a country without them. That will not happen logistically. But they're just non-entities to me. I don't care. And I'm speaking about relatives, all the way down to students, all the way down to people I worked with. The whole thing. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So, but we have MAGA now who are kind of, like I said, the one surprising thing, and if anybody out there could give me an idea, I'm just a little mystified why they haven't taken a more vocal stand, and maybe they're just overwhelmed too. Okay. I mean, I don't know. So back to the questions. Do you think, Brian, and again, we're both doing something we don't like to do, but I think this is a time for speculation. There is a time for everything. Do you think there's any possibility that this could have been a put-up job?
Again, this is where I get nervous because I think this is almost what they want, is that, and it has to be asked. There are going to be many people who are going to say, just like with the assassination attempt, that this is bullshit. As I told you previously on the phone, Dave, prior to the show, I'm so, like, as you said, exhausted over all of this, that it's been running around in my head. Okay, I'm trying to get philosophical and fundamental again about how we got here. I'm going back 60 years. Now, you've said quite appropriately, Dave, that this country has never been what we thought we really were. We've always had issues.
No.
We've always been divided. But I'm looking, again, we're going back to that thing with culture and how this country has changed, especially the last 20 or 30 years. I've always talked about the contract with America and all things with the Republicans, but no, just in terms of how we run our lives. We're all sitting behind the computer. We're ordering online, and a lot of it's fascinating. A lot of it does make things easier for us. We have AI. You yourself have seen it as just a neutral. But Dave, it's been going around in my, and it's to everybody too, but it's been going around in my head that there has to be something fundamental that psychologically got us to this place. And I'm looking now, I'm focusing in on how our lives have changed as human beings in America. We used to, at one time, you had somebody delivered your milk and you would see your neighbors all the time. You would go to the mall. You physically went to the store. It was a normal thing to know all of your neighbors down the block. And I'm sure it wasn't just New Jersey. This is for those of you who live in other areas. But nowadays, it's a challenge to even know your neighbor's first name. And again, the only time you ever have any contact with them when you have a problem, maybe their dog shits on your lawn and you have to deal with them. But it seems as though there's been a pattern that has occurred that has completely changed this country. So now we're all behind the computers, and now we are very much influenced, you and me and everybody else, our political views on what we see coming at us so quickly. So it's made us ripe for some change in behavior, because there's a definite change in the culture. And what I'm saying is I've begun to believe, and this is, I have no facts behind this. This is in essence speculation, that this change in behavior has really led to the division in America, because it's made it so easy for us all to be influenced. And this is in a certain sense, this is why Russia has never been successful economically because nobody wanted to stick their neck out there because you were in trouble if you stuck your neck out. So you had to be
Right.
a mediocre person to survive. And this is why they have a mediocre economy where, you couldn't create anything of significance. You have all these brilliant people, but they lay low. And I think that's essentially what we're all doing. We're laying low right now. And I think, it goes back to this book, which I haven't even, read much of yet, Absurdistan. It's about Russia, but this is what's happening in this country. And everything's becoming the absurd. And I can't keep up with it, Dave. I mean, the speculation,
Right.
everything. So I'm
Nobody
going
can.
back to fundamentals on this.
Well, I see. We had a Thanksgiving dinner, a small gathering, just 5 of us at a friend's apartment, and all were very politically influenced. All of us had, work that we had done in that field, like me with the reporters and other things. But one of the things the host asked, he said, "Are we all okay talking about politics?" That was first, and we were. But one of the guys he said, what was it? When Trump came back in, he pulled himself off Facebook. He said, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And so he's trying, as much as possible to stay away. And I think that's good, if you can. I've also wondered about the change. And I think basically there's many reasons for it. But 2, I think, are basic, is the fact of the lack of work in so many places. That means you have to go where the work is. You can't be born somewhere and stay there.
Right.
Okay. Bridgeton is a great example for that. What's the number one occupation? Drug sales, gangs, prison guard, police,
Right.
a couple lawyers. I mean, so that's, that kind of thing. So we don't have that sense of community that you mentioned before. It's just not there. Then you have the other thing there is social media. And I had a theory when I was a reporter, which goes back into the 70s and 80s. Bridgeton is, I used to say, I could make the Spectrum in 47 minutes. So it's about 45 minutes away from Philadelphia.
People should know what the Spectrum is. It's the old arena where the Flyers and the Sixers used to play.
Correct. It's the sports, or was the sports venue. So, but what would happen is the 3 TV stations were put in Philadelphia. So every night, their focus was on Philadelphia. And so when there was a murder, you saw it on your TV, and no murderer is going to walk 47 minutes to come kill you. But it almost became like you were sucked into the Philadelphia experience. And I watched again a number of times, dealing with reporters, TV reporters, and cameramen. I realized that it was not news, it was entertainment. And I've not watched news regularly since 1976, I guess. But now with social media, it's gone even further. If something happens, yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, had to be yesterday, there was a shooting at a birthday party in California. I think 4 dead and 10 are wounded from a young child's birthday party.
I saw something like that on CNN, right?
So what happened? But that becomes, we wouldn't have known about that, necessarily before. But now it's right there, it's right there, it's right there, it's right there, it's in your face. And that leads to some of the exhaustion. It also leads to, this show is a great example of this. If it weren't for social media, we wouldn't have this show.
Right.
And so if that's a good, but this, we were talking about it earlier, to all our audience. When we think about, Brian and I are just 2 guys. We know certain things and don't know certain things, but we're not Rachel Maddow. We don't have the power of MSNBC behind us.
We don't have the numbers that we don't have. We have just
well, all that. So really, it's what we've actually done is just take a conversation that Brian and I have been having for years and years and years, and share it out, I guess. And for me, from a purely selfish standpoint, it is cathartic. I feel better after doing a show, whether the show bombs or not. I don't care. I feel that I've done a little bit of something, or I've been part of this family we've developed, or whatever. So again, social media is not all bad, but it's there. Now, I think one of the things that we have to be patient with, and I learned this as a newspaper reporter, the truth comes out slowly. But we want it right away. That's what we want. And it doesn't happen that way. You could even see in this. Look, the governor of West Virginia, within a matter of moments, said both guardsmen had been killed. False, erroneous. Both were still alive when he said it. One thing that people were pointing out down here, and I don't know what this means. Do you know who actually announced the death?
I don't know.
Donald Trump. That's never happened in the history of the presidency. Never. Okay? It always comes from the police officers. Kash, my eyes are all fucked up, Patel, head of the FBI, announced we're going to launch this great search for the shooter. Kash, they've already got him in custody. So, again, does that mean anything? I don't know. It's just something different. It's never been done. Guns in the hands of so many has also shaped today's America. No question. Absolutely. The only thing I would say about that is I don't know that we're necessarily any more violent than we've ever been. I mean, in terms of guns have always been a problem in America. Yeah, I mean, we were born in violence and lived
Valentine's
in
Day
violence
massacre,
and steeped in violence. And then a Supreme Court comes along and says, yeah, everybody can have guns. Basically, it's what they said. I mean, you can parse it any way you want. So yes, but again, I would
even
certainly
Kyle
agree with anybody
Rittenhouse.
saying it's getting worse in terms of maybe the severity. I mean, we didn't have the school shootings, and we didn't have sidewalk shootings necessarily. So you say to yourself, okay, this just has me stymied. Again, I'll have more to report. I want to really, if we're doing the show tomorrow night, it would be much better because I do want to talk to the veterans who are at the encampment to see what their take is on it, because I think that will be valuable. So let's move on. We said murder. We now have two murderers at two of the highest positions in the land. One is Donald Trump, and I charge him with murder tonight. And Pete Hegseth, I charge with murder tonight. What do I mean? Okay, very simply. There is no reason, let me repeat this again, there's absolutely no reason for us to have bombed any single boat coming out of Venezuela or anywhere else. We could have just as easily captured them, boarded them, given them a fair trial, and if they indeed were transporting drugs, we could have handled it that way. But no, of course, that's not what we want to do. We want to make a big stand. We want to show how tough we are. And also, Brian, I am of the belief that Venezuela is a target because Trump wants the oil and things there. He would like to have that. And in his mind, he can capture Venezuela and make it, I don't know, the 51st state.
Right, but it seems like there's people behind him who are going to make him very happy if he does it for them.
Correct. And see, that's the up thing now. Malga said, oh, Trump, I don't know that Trump does anything. If you saw that picture of him at Mar-a-Lago this weekend, he was two steps away from death. So we know you can almost get to a point now when you can almost tell when something comes out, you can kind of tell if it's not written by, not something Trump would necessarily want to do. We have that, the Nosferatu Nazi, Stephen Miller. A lot of writing that comes out of there is his. This is right up his alley. Of course, he actually came out with a statement that is, when you let people in, you let their whole society in and their whole culture in. No, you let a person in. Now, again, because in D.C., I have the occasion, one of my favorite eateries is completely Afghani. And I go there regularly. And usually I'm one of maybe 2 or 3 Caucasians in there. Feel no threat. Food is great. But I understand that people in Iowa who never run into Afghans, they get the impression done by social media or by really evil people like Stephen Miller. So what about Hegseth? It looks like, now again, we're early, basically, and I think we'll find this out. Apparently I don't know who it was, the commander, somebody got back to him or got back to the Pentagon and said, we got these 2 people hanging onto a boat. What should we do? And what Hegseth said is kill them all. Now, he had to say that because that's the kind of quote you wouldn't use, you know what I mean? That wouldn't leak out if he didn't. I'm almost 100% convinced that he said that. Now, could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. Well, A, if they weren't drug dealers, then that's murder. If they were enemy combatants, it's still murder. Okay? What Trump doesn't get or doesn't care about, what Hegseth is too drunk to get or doesn't care about, is the fact that there are rules in war. There are rules in war.
Yes, there are.
And when you violate international codes, and this violated an international code, this is no different than Nazis slaughtering Russian soldiers in World War II who had surrendered, which they did, slaughtering American soldiers who had surrendered, which they did, and by far one of the greatest
Bataan Death March
users in Japan, yes. Now, you could even say at that point that those countries were not in the, national kind of organizations to do this, but United States is. So there is two things. There's no reason, none, absolutely zilch zero, for bombing those boats. Secondly, by doing that, Donald Trump is guilty of murder. Hegseth is guilty of murder. Now, here's where it gets a little hairy. Are the pilots that bombed it guilty? Are the people that followed orders?
Well, if they're
guilty?
following orders,
different.
That's a different story.
Yeah, but again, then you get the left, our people get on there. Yeah, it's no different. It's no different. That wasn't a defense in Nuremberg. And, the Nazis. Each case, Brian, has to be taken individually.
Agreed.
And so taking it individually, Donald Trump, murderer. Pete Hegseth, murderer. Everybody else, not enough information yet to say what they did. Now, here's an interesting thing.
But you have to do state charges on them because you have to deal with the Supreme Court, the federal law, correct?
Well, yeah. But what's interesting is that crime goes to the international court. Now, that's like Netanyahu has already been found guilty there. I mean, you're not going to run a raid and get Donald Trump in the middle of the night. But
it's the strongest country in the world. How are you going to do it?
I said you're not. That's what I mean. You're not. So it has to come down to, unfortunately, you were one of the first. You said this. I've said it too. But the idea of it is the real problem right now. The real problem is the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
The federal courts are holding their own. 315 cases against Trump, and I think 4 have been found in his favor, and more than 100 not, and the others still to be adjudicated. So they're doing their job. We haven't seen too much at the Supreme Court. We know that, I would say, I thought Citizens United was the worst ruling of the modern Supreme Court. I now do not believe that. It was horrible. But with Trump in office, making the president almost have absolute power was the worst thing they've done.
Absolutely.
Neither one is good,
Absolutely.
So yes. But again, as I keep saying to myself and to others, it's one step at a time.
And look what he's done with all the pardons. And that's another story too in itself. I'm not real happy about that Honduran fella.
Well, no, of course, anybody. Okay, let's just play it simple. I'm Donald Trump. We are going to stop drug dealing in America, and one of the ways we're going to do it, we're going to kill the Venezuelans who are doing it. Fine. No proof, nothing. Now, what I am also going to do at this time, I'm going to pardon a Honduran president who we know brought 400 tons of cocaine into America under his direction. 400 tons. Now, I was a heavy drug user, but I don't think I could do 400 tons, right? So, of course, I mean, it's just, as I say, if my prayer, if I had a prayer, it might be something like this. Dear God, tonight, somebody's going to die. We all know that. And if you need a suggestion, I have somebody for you. But that's not going to happen either. But you have this. So Hegseth, War
Do you think
criminal.
that? Can I
Trump,
just go
war
back with you?
criminal.
Say it does take us mentally. I think
Absolutely.
all of us, none of us would resort to violence. Nobody on this show, nobody who's watching the show would ever resort to violence. But there's a certain sense that we will allow the assassin to do it for us without saying anything. Like nobody wants to go to the slaughterhouse to kill the cow, but you'll
But they'll
let
eat the cow.
right.
No, we used to play that game in college. I don't know if you did. Would you go back in history and change? And then, of course, the extreme of that, would you go back and kill?
Kill Hitler,
and of course,
right.
one of the, Hitler or somebody else. And I know my personal answer is this:
Wouldn't be the worst
I'm
thing.
more Malcolm. I'm more Malcolm X than I am Martin Luther King. I respect the hell out of Martin Luther King, but I'm more Malcolm X. So I'm more by any means necessary. But I have in addition to that I can agree to do, and I cannot agree to killing someone that way. Now, again, I've said it before. People say, "Oh, you won't do that." If someone were to break in my house right now as we're doing this, and I thought he in any way threatened me or my wife, and I could kill him, or her, I would, and I don't believe I'd have any remorse. I really don't. I just don't think I would, because when it's them or you, it's a whole different story.
Right, it's a different
Now,
code.
some people would argue that it's them versus you now and Trump. I don't subscribe to that theory. I can understand why somebody would say that, and I would not. I wouldn't pardon them, but maybe I'd want them to, just kind of.
I think T-Bone
not
makes a good
have-
point about this. I mean, we can get into this and that of it, but once the boat is blown apart, they're no longer combatants. They can't do anything except swim at that moment, and now they're being shot at. So that in itself,
And
telling.
T-Bone, and that's what's interesting.
And by the way,
maybe
Hickseth,
T-Bone
I'm
knows
sure
this.
would blame the pilots instead of himself.
Well, of course, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
That doesn't matter. The order had to come. The pilots would not do that on their own. Okay, it would not. They know. In fact, here's a little inside information, I guess. Like I said, we live, as I said, 4.6 miles from the White House and 1.9 from the Pentagon. So we have vast numbers of people here who work at every level of the Pentagon. And I've been very impressed with them in terms of their knowledge, their understanding, what they want to do. I mean, I've never met a general, so it's all people under that. But
you have met
is
General
interesting-
Sal, right?
his chicken, yeah,
Yes.
it was good.
Yeah.
But what happened was this: the reports out of the Pentagon, a number of soldiers involved in these operations have already lawyered up. So they realize. I mean, and they say, "Well, why'd you do it?" Well, it's not as easy, man. The Pentagon is a huge, huge operation, and up until Donald Trump slithered down that fucking escalator made of gold, and then slunk into the White House. Yeah, the president had some power, but the president also had some moral authority. Richard Nixon, as bad as he was, did some good things, okay? Baby Bush, W. Bush, did good things. Donald Trump has done nothing good. He's incapable.
Absolutely.
He is incapable. He is incapable of doing anything. Anything.
I mean, he's such a
that is
motherfucker, and like it's just so obvious. And these people, some people we
Brian-
know,
Brian-
Dave.
Brian-
It's just how do you-
Brian, you've said it. Brian, you said it. You said it better than anyone else in America. The people, most of the people that back Trump, back him because they think he deals with the people they hate.
right.
There you are. And there's an awful lot, an awful lot of hatred. Now, the clock is ticking, but we usually do at least three things. So we've done two. Now I want to go to the area that is pure speculation, but I believe based on my experience, I feel somewhat warranted in saying it. There will be more killings. There will be more murders. There will be a lot more. Whether we'll go to war, that's another question not to be
Are you
answered.
talking about Venezuela? Or
I'm talking about everywhere, anywhere in the world, but also on any street in America. In any street in Chicago, in LA, in New Orleans, in Charlotte, in Washington, D.C., in New York City, in any place where there's a military presence of any type, that could break out at any time. Now, yesterday, here in the quiet little place I call home, Crystal City, Judy wanted to get an iced tea. So we went to our place. And when we're outside, we're walking along Crystal Drive, which is the main street from near us. And you hear this, like, I thought they were having a party across the street somewhere, right? Then suddenly, as we're sitting there, about 100 protesters protesting for pro-Pakistani, anti-Israel, were staging a march. Now, what happens now, there's enough tension there. MAGA people aren't real smart, most of them. They don't know the difference between an Indian, a Pakistani, an Afghan,
a Hinduistic person.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter. A Kurd, it just doesn't matter. So would somebody see that and say, you fucking killed the National Guards? All this is now, it's not one incident.
I think 4 people that would do that from your Facebook page.
Oh, well.
I won't mention the names.
At least one would.
Yeah.
No, at least one. Well, and that's something. Again, it's funny, Brian. You said I even reach my limit sometimes too, and again, not that it matters to anyone out there except me. I've decided that I'm not going to ever mention the name Donald Trump again on my personal Facebook page.
Right. That doesn't apply to this one at all. Anybody's out there thinking that.
No. It's just my personal Facebook page. And there are 4 conditions that I will name. If he dies, may the time come soon. If he's impeached and removed from office, if he doesn't die, may that time come soon. If he decides he has to remove himself because he physically shits his pants too much, and may that time come soon. Or is he removed with the 25th Amendment? And
I guess he's going to wear a lot of black pants in the future.
Yeah. He's
I
not
can't
going
see
to
any
white
way
ones.
to go around it. The white ones, forget it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's only been 2 days. But again, and I'm going to do a little shameless self-promotion. Next week, I'll hit it even harder. I am undergoing therapy. No. I'm unveiling, this is what I want, a new project. It's a comprehensive project. It's a 7-year project. I don't know if I'll live to complete it. And one of those things is, as a point of this, I've established a Facebook page where I will talk about Donald Trump, and it's called the Trump Dump DC. So if anybody wants to sign up, I'd more than welcome you if you're on Facebook, and I'll be pushing that somewhat. And then, of course, I will also be doing anti-Trump comments on the Divided We Stand page, and of course on here, and then a number of columns that I'm going to be writing. We'll do that. So, but when you said that hit me too tonight. When you said you're just kind of tired, exhausted, so many people are saying that, and I completely understand it.
But haven't you turned? Well, first of all, you don't watch the news, but if you're out there, I know you've got to be like me. You just turn, and I used to watch. So I watch was news. And I have to turn it off. It's like watching the Eagles when they play poorly. You just have to turn it off.
No, and like I said, one of the advantages maybe I have, although I am a social media addict in certain ways, and I kind of try to justify or rationalize that by, well, I need it for what I write, I need it for what I talk. But so it's not that I don't get the news; it's that what I learned in the newspaper business was that you can control somewhat how you react if you read it. You really have a hard time controlling it when it's right in your face and you've seen it. It's the difference between seeing a movie and reading the novel. And one is not better than the other, but it's there. So I'm going to change the question tonight, Brian, if you don't mind, because we both answered. We're both more pessimistic than we were last week.
And I didn't have to even guess with you with that one.
No. I mean, obviously, you couldn't, you'd have to be in La La Land or Magaland to think that this was a good week. So of all the things on the table, and there's so many, what one frightens you or concerns you the most? And I'm going to take one off, the death of democracy. I mean, We're going to remove
Right.
that. That is the one that should be there for everybody. But we're talking about a specific kind of action or non-action. What one bothers you the most?
Geez, a dead person is a dead person. I don't want to say that because young woman from National Guard or the people on the boat. I don't know the people on the boat, and I don't know the whole situation. I don't trust Hegseth. I think the one that I do feel that there's probably more information would be Hegseth, because Hegseth is a drunk. He reminds me of McCarthy because McCarthy himself was a drunk. He talks like McCarthy. He is a minion of Trump, and I don't like he's a bloviator. He doesn't deserve his position. Trump, you just expect it, but I would say that bothered me the most. Not even the killing. He's been doing that. It's just the way he does things. And in fact, there was somebody said something, and maybe it was one of your posts, or somebody, I don't think it was you, but it was somebody made a post about which person bothers you the most in the Trump administration.
I did.
Aside from Trump, it's Hegseth. I mean, I hate every one of them, and we could say each one of them is equally culpable, but there's just something about Hegseth that it just he tries to be the pretty boy, and all he is a drunk. He's the guy that anybody who's a guy, you just don't like this guy who's like the alpha male. He's the bully. He's everything you don't like if you're a normal person in high school. You just know he's the one that everybody fucking hates. And I knew somebody in college like that, and I just remember him now. I haven't thought about him for about a good 45 years, but now I just remember, and I know his name too, because he was like that. And every day I'd see him in the hall. It was disgusting. I couldn't, there's just, and I think, Dave, it comes back to personality, the kind of personalities that I don't like. I mean, of course, I don't like anybody in the Trump administration. I don't like Jeanine Pirro. But something about Hegseth just bugs the shit out of me. And maybe that's why, at a personal level, I don't like that one.
And you set it up very well, because you could have gone with thing. You went with person. So I'm going to follow your lead. And the person, there are two people. They're tie. So I'm going to have to do this in my head. As far as controlling Trump while he's in the White House, it's Stephen Miller. I think
because
Trump
of his speeches. He's a speechwriter.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, he is. I mean, we joke sometimes, or we say Trump is buffoon. Stephen Miller is not buffoon.
He knows Trump's mental, and he can use him.
Stephen Miller is 100% genuine Jewish Nazi evil.
And we can also add Steve Bannon to that too.
Yes, but
but he's not in the White House.
The other side, I would put, if I had to, I would rank Miller 1, Bannon, 2 in that control. The other side is the hidden, the technocrat, the rich controller, and that would be Peter Thiel. And it was funny. I was talking to a fairly knowledgeable person today, and he said, "Oh, I don't know who that is." And here's what's so dangerous about Thiel. First of all, he owns J.D. Vance, owns him 100%.
That's why you got to watch South Park, folks.
But it's true. He made J.D. Vance who he is. Now, you don't do that unless you expect a return. And the return is that he, along with a couple other people, pushed very hard for Vance to be on the ticket. Thiel doesn't. Right now, he would shed no tears tomorrow night or tonight if Donald Trump were to die, because that advances him. But I guess, I limited you to 1, so I have to limit to 1. I'm still going to go, as concerned as I am with Thiel, I'm going to go with Stephen Miller.
All right. Maybe the one.
So, again, for everybody who watched, I really appreciate your being here, as does Brian. Secondly, I really do. I don't get a chance, because I'm trying not to look off and everything. I don't get a chance to read all your comments, but I do read them if I don't get to do them here on the show. Sometimes we do it. And I don't know what I've been having problems all day, not that, just to commiserate. This has not been my day with technology. Let's just put it that way. And so my picture was blurry tonight. I have no idea why. I blame Brian, but it probably was Brian's fault. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So thank you very much, not only for watching, listening the show, but secondly, thank you even more for the comments. And I was telling somebody today, so it is worth repeating. I said, it took me a while to get used to this. And when we first started this show, Brian, I wasn't real, I said, why are those people talking? Not that I wanted you to listen to me. I just didn't get it, right? I'd never done this. And now I realize that we provide the venue or the place where a family of like people, very good people, I might add,
Right.
get together on a Sunday night to do whatever it is they do. But I mean, I really, when you see Veg saying, "Hey," to Joey, or
We haven't seen
whatever.
Joey tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, he actually, believe it or not, I talked to him this week. He actually didn't watch the show last week. So maybe he's boycotting you. I don't know. He said, by the way, that you do sleep with a sleep mask on.
Yes, Joey wasn't supposed to say anything, but Joey's got the big mouth. So yes, I've always had this
don't you get to-
fascination with those masks so you can go to sleep. The eye covers and eye mask, I guess you call it.
Are
I
you
kind of
also
like
into
it.
bondage and domination?
No, although that's it's funny that you mentioned that.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
it's
until
funny.
now, no, it's not that. It's just that it wasn't like. I mean, I'm not old enough to have been part of that kind of thing. But in the 1950s, a lot of the pornography had like the black and white, and then they'd have somebody with like the eye covers on.
The reason was, now here's something interesting that you just brought up. You've always been, and kind of I've been too, pop culture influencing. But here's the thing that happens. The reason they had those masks on is they didn't want to be identified.
Okay.
All right. But what happened is it gets in your mind. And for a lot of people, that's a fascination now.
All right.
You
Yeah.
know
What,
I mean?
what do they
Because
really look like?
So it started from one idea, right? I mean, that wasn't the idea, but now it's associated with it. And if anyone, I have to admit, one of the great things about doing what I do, I had my first interview with a dominatrix, and that was very interesting. And they make a lot of money, a lot of money.
OnlyFans or something like that.
Well, she does both. She does OnlyFans and then personal invites,
Wow.
screen.
Are
Those kind of.
you're not a
do you want me to
subscriber,
I guess,
are you? There. Okay.
No, I'm not.
No,
But
okay.
I did give her your name, phone number,
Okay.
your work schedule, and now you've convinced me that you really need that. All right, Brian.
All right,
I'm out.
Dave. All right, everybody. I know you're all exhausted, so let's all get some sleep, and we'll be back at it next week. And yeah, so thank you.
One other thing, we'll make it as there. Given the situation now, there may be times when we do a midweek show. Just but we'll
If
get
something
the word out.
really big comes up, yes.
I mean, because I have a feeling, Brian, that things are only going to get worse, and there may be a need from time to time.
Talking from a former
to do-
optimist, yes, that's something.
The next and the big thing coming, you want to keep your eyes on. December 13th is the next big protest down here. They're going to try to get enough people, and they should be able to do this. Enough groups are working to literally encircle the whole
Right,
White
encircle
House
the White
ground,
House. Right.
and
Won't happen.
and do it that way. Now that could be, that's never been done before.
Oh, he will invite
know,
the
is
Proud
it-
Boys if that happens.
Well,
Or Kyle
I'm
Rittenhouse.
proud. I'm there. I'm proud. All right, Brian.
All right.
Take care.
See you, folks. See you, Dave.